Recorded live from the mats of Radical MMA in New York City. The Martial Culture Podcast. Your source for in-depth combat sports and martial arts insights with Coach Renee Dreyfus and Matt Peters. Ring the bell and let's get it on.
Hot on the heels of UFC 230, we have episode 31 of the Martial Culture Podcast. Hi, Renee. How you doing?
Doing great.
Fantastic.
How are you, Mr. Peters?
I'm doing good. Very, very fun UFC 230, I felt. How did you feel?
Okay. It was entertaining, I guess. But before we get to that,
please.
let's introduce Bryan.
Joined in studio with Bryan from Ain't Hard to Tell podcast.
Yes, sir. I was at UFC 230. I'm interested to know why you didn't think it was that that exciting.
Well, no, I mean, certain fights were interesting, but, for example, let's go back to the last UFC where it was, Pettis versus Ferguson. And everybody's like, oh my God, that was a great fight. That was a terrible fight.
You thought it was a terrible fight?
Yeah, from a technical standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is the thing is I watch MMA for one reason only, to learn the most efficient ways to dismantle another human being.
Okay.
That's why.
You mute the
That's why I
TV,
watch.
right? You don't want to listen to the Joe Rogan talk.
I usually turn it down.
Yeah.
Right.
Although actually sometimes he has good commentary.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
you do not like his commentary at all?
No, sometimes it's good. I generally, he's a very knowledgeable martial artist. He is. He absolutely is. But sometimes the hyperbole gets it. That is the most amazing armbar in the history of the galaxy. Nobody in the entire universe has seen anything. Come on, just,
Yeah.
a little bit, that was just a regular armbar. But Joe Rogan has some interesting points of view, and generally I agree with him. Sometimes I don't, but he never says anything stupid like Goldie used to. Like Goldie would be like, "That's a great armbar." Joe would be like, "That's a leg lock." And he's trying not to he's like, "That's a great hook." That was a kick.
He
he
hooked his kick.
He hooked his kick. Yes, it's okay, right? But generally, I don't want to also be influenced by the commentary. I want to be able to analyze on my own. So I generally lower it down. I can't lower it because I usually watch it with other people, so I don't lower it. But I just tune it out.
I do that with boxing now. And the reason why is because Timothy Bradley got a lot for quote unquote beating Manny Pacquiao the first time. Where if you watch that without commentary, where Jim Lampley, any Pacquiao fight, HBO is, they have a hard on. So when that fight, you sort of watch it without the commentary, it looks way different than it's perceived.
Yeah, it's absolutely true that commentary in a certain way can sway you, and pre-fight hype can sway. It can sway the referees to, like we saw that in the Conor McGregor fight. Why was Conor not called on so many egregious? Watch that fight again. Watch him punch
Conor
Khabib in the ball.
Okay.
Yeah, watch him punch Khabib in the balls.
Yeah.
He punches him and then grabs the shorts. Dude, that is bad. And then grabbing the fence and not a point taken away because you're swayed by and that's happened too with John Jones with repeated eye pokes. And he's like, "John, watch your fingers."
Yeah.
And when you have star power, you're swayed. And then also, if somebody wants to beat the champ, you've got to beat the champ to be the champ. Well, why? That's just silly hype. You have to win 5 rounds. Like any other fight.
Yeah.
But psychologically we work differently. And when we're hyped up or when we were I think when we're fans, we like a fan of any sports team, it kind of becomes part of your identity. I'm a Khabib fan, or I'm a Ferguson fan, or, I'm a Conor fan. So, or you have, when it becomes part of your identity, you stop thinking rationally about it. And even commentators and fans and referees can be swayed by that. So we're not rational human beings. So what I try to do is tune out everything and really look at what's going on so I can learn. And the only reason I watch MMA is to learn to be a better martial artist and better coach. And I don't agree with two people standing in front of each other, smacking each other in the face. That is not a good strategy. Now, entertaining.
Yeah.
For some people, to me, it's like, okay, we're back in caveman land. All right, we're going to just stand and swing. Right. And now, obviously there was technique going on because Ferguson is a good fighter and so is Pettis, but there was it was a war of mental attrition more than and toughness more than it was a war of technical angles. And when people are striking, I like to see a real approach. Like you're a fan of Adesanya. Adesanya is a man of angles and movement and footwork.
I think a lot of people are fans of that dude now.
Right. But you know what? Everybody's talking about, oh my God, Jacare he knocked Weidman out. Man, that was the worst fight ever. From a technical standpoint.
The worst fight ever?
Not ever.
You sound like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, right?
The worst fight in the universe.
In the universe. Okay, yeah, I have a little hype.
But he was losing before he got that knockout.
But also Weidman's, and I was watching with Professor Ken, who's a striking master, and I was listening to him because I was asking him, I should have asked him more questions, but I was asking him questions, what he saw, and then I actually fell asleep. It's like I've drifted off. I was teaching all day, but I'm like, oh, this is terrible. I'm not learning anything. Because Weidman's striking. And then it's funny because Joe Rogan, it was John Anik. I'm not sure. I think it was probably John Anik. John Anik said, I remember this. He's like, Weidman's striking is looking so sharp. And I'm like, no. And it's funny. This is to be completely objective. Weidman was making the same mistake that I used to make, and it's called pawing your jab. When you stick your jab out and you bring it down, and he has a good extension. And I even said, the extension of Weidman's jab and the pop, the out was good, but then he kept pawing it, which is why Jacare was hitting, bum, overhand, body, dig to the body, hit the overhand, dig to the body, hit to the overhand.
I was surprised that he wasn't even trying to clinch much too. He was just kind of boxing with him, quote unquote.
Yeah. Okay. That is a totally different issue. And I have a lot to say about that. And that's also one of the reasons I wasn't a fan. Not because I'm like, as Jilson would say, you like grappling too much and you just don't like striking. That is not the issue. The issue is it's an MMA fight to remove your weapons from the table. If you're playing chess and I'm going to say, I'm going to remove my bishop, my rook and my knight. Okay. Now I'm going to play. It's just silly. Especially when you're bishop, rook, and knight, or you really know how to use those pieces.
Yeah.
So to me, MMA is about a synergistic use of all your weapons, and that was basically a kickboxing match. However, there are a lot of times where grapplers cancel each other out and they become strikers. It is very common, actually. I remember back in Pride days, there was Don Fry, and there was a few of them like that, where you just get a bunch of grapplers and they would just not grapple with each other, because it happens when you fear the takedown defense, because obviously when you shoot in on someone and they have a really good sprawl, well, now you're starting out in a bad spot and you expose your back. So you wanted, the Diaz brothers do this too. They never shoot. To get the guy down, they want to knock him out. They want to knock him really hard down. Then they'll take you down after they've knocked you senseless.
Right.
So, and it's an efficient approach where rather than struggling for the takedown, what I'm going to do is hit you really, really hard in the face.
Yeah.
Make you,
Derrick Lewis does that too, I think.
Yeah. Because, and it's a very efficient way to get a takedown after you hit someone in the face. So
right.
I think Jacare was like, I'm not going to shoot and get sprawled on. And waste energy. But that's possible. I actually think is another reason, but I can get into that area. But basically, you're throwing kind of crappy overhands, and he did the same move the entire fight. And then finally on the 15th time it connected. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Not really. It means both of you were technically deficient. And so there's not a lot of learning that I can do there. Now, before I get a lot of hate mail from Weidman.
That's already happening.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's already happening.
I respect. Actually, I am a huge Jacare fan. I'm always in the corner, but at the same time, I think that things could be done a little bit better. And Weidman, while didn't look bad per se, there were like technical mistakes there.
No, Weidman's lost the last 4 of his 5 fights.
Yeah, exactly.
What is he doing wrong?
Exactly. He's doing something wrong. And that's a fact. He's doing something wrong. Well,
he was winning that last fight before he got caught. Obviously, the wrong thing was getting caught towards the end.
Yeah, he was winning the fight against a guy who was not really striking very well.
Yeah, and he was supposed to also fight Luke Rockhold. Let's not forget that.
If you're
probably could have lost that one too.
Yeah. But also the thing is, if you're over preparing and over adapting to a specific fight, then you can't adapt to a new opponent, then you're not a versatile fighter. I'm just not. Which I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying, look, if I walk out of here in the building today and somebody attacks me, I'm like, I've actually been preparing to fight a guy 20 pounds heavier who likes to punch me more, but you look more like you don't want to punch me like you're fat. So give me 2 weeks to prepare and then I'll fight you. Like, that's silly. Like, fighting's fighting. I like the old days where the UFC had a tournament and you had no idea who's going to come next. Because,
I don't think you could do that now, could you?
Well, they still have tournaments like that. It's just the amateurs. What they do is they limit the head contact. But, you still have tournaments. You just have to limit the amount of damage people take.
But now the way they do it is like what Bellator is doing with the heavyweight tournament. They're kind of spacing it out over months at a time.
Right.
So,
right. And
but you still go in knowing your opponent, but the idea, I guess, is to give guys full training camps and things like that. Which makes sense.
Which is the same thing. But what I'm saying is this: it's like, and I talk about, people ask me about, because to me, MMA is a paradigm to approach human combat, not ring prize fighting, but human combat, unarmed combat or armed. It's a paradigm to search for what is the best way to defend yourself or to dismantle to destroy another human being. And so if someone were to say, Renee, what is the most important self-defense skill? And there's also mental elements. Let's just say, putting the mental element aside, technical only, adaptability. Adaptability to whatever circumstance. And the great fighters, whether it's George St. Pierre, whether it's Khabib, whether it's Demetrius Johnson, who's no longer champ, but he's still great, TJ Dillashaw, whether it's John Jones, who is a jerk, but great fighter, whether it's Daniel Cormier, these guys these guys are adaptable.
Daniel Cormier?
I have a beef with Cormier.
Really? I want to hear this.
It's not a real beef.
Okay.
No, but these are people who are supremely adaptive.
Yeah.
I don't care who they fought. If you said DC fight Stipe tomorrow, DC fight for Fabricio Verdum, fight this guy. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of game preparation.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have your core skills and you adapt to the opponent to push your core skills onto that fight.
All that said, I am still shocked that David Branch lost in the way he did to Jared Cannonier.
Yeah.
That was, to me, just going back to UFC 230, that was the most shocking just ending of the night. Because he was actually winning the first round. I don't know if he was doing it in a spectacular fashion, but I felt like he
was close. It was
close,
but
I felt like he won. He was able to get his jiu-jitsu on, keep Jared onto the ground. And then at the end, you saw it sort of shift a little bit. And then right early in the second round, he just got caught and that was it. And Jared was, remember, moving down from light heavyweight.
I believe, and I'm a huge fan of David Branch. I'm, friendly with him and I can't say enough positive things about him, but I think he was actually losing that fight, but not on the scorecards. Let me tell you what I mean. This is the grappler's problem, is that when you shoot against a guy who has a very good sprawl and very strong like that, and you shoot the way he did and you drag him off the cage, you expend a tremendous amount of energy. And when you expend that energy, your hands start dropping.
Yeah.
And Cannonier was waiting for that. He's like, their strategy was this. And I was talking about this, I was saying to Professor Ken, we were watching, I was like, he's going to get tired. And next round, you just watch, he's going to get tired. And because he was using a lot of energy to bring that fight to the ground in ways that were very difficult for him. And he was not, of course he did well, like he was aggressive, but then his hands dropped and he got caught. And that has happened to so many grapplers going back to the way early UFC. If you go back way early, if you remember Maurice Smith versus, the guy became a chef.
The one that he kicked?
Yes.
Right. Kicked in the face?
Yeah. I forgot his name.
I forgot.
He became a chef, right? But he was part of the Lion's Den. And
it wasn't Mark Coleman, right?
He did that too, to Mark Coleman too. That's another one.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the different fight. But yes, he did a Mark Coleman, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's another one. Excuse me, where you spend all this time trying to take the guy down, and it's very endurance heavy, which is why you see a lot of fighters saying, I'm not going to struggle to take him down. I'm going to hit him really hard and then take him down. Yeah. But you saw that pushing the fight, particularly when you go in the heavier weight classes, like you have to push that fight like that. You have to be like Khabib or Cejudo, where you've trained your body to be able to do that. In a way, and there's a certain type of, and Jilson, our friend, can talk about this much better, but you train your muscles and your energy systems in your body to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And, if you have not prepared your body for that level of grappling and isometric holding over and over and over again. And just that is a type of, for lack of a better, like muscle endurance or cardio. It's not the cardio running down. It's just the way you have to adapt your body to be a grappler. And that's one reason why Khabib is so great. The guy can do it for 5 rounds because he's been doing it since he was a kid.
Wrestling bears.
Yeah, wrestling bears.
Yeah.
Cejudo he's an Olympian. He's been doing it forever. Daniel Cormier can Greco throw you for 25 minutes straight. And he will be fresh to do it another 25 minutes. No, he will. You know? And people from the jiu-jitsu community generally don't have that same adaptability in the takedown range. Now, they can put on omoplatas all day. They can
Right.
pass your guard. It's a different type of energy output.
Right.
But to understand that pull of takedowns, I'm like, his arms are going down and this is going to be dangerous. This is going to be dangerous. And boom. And he got caught. Now, that's not to take away. Let me phrase that. I am a huge David Branch fan. I think he's a wonderful guy, a great athlete, and a fantastic guy. And, you know, I'm always rooting for him because he's a personal friend. But, that being said, I feel that it played a little bit into Cannonier's strategy to take the fight into deep waters in terms of that muscle endurance. And you know, George St. Pierre did that to BJ Penn.
Yeah.
Because George St. Pierre is another one who he can go for an hour straight stand-up grappling.
Right.
He just has that energy system and he said BJ Penn won't, and his hands will be low, and then I'm going to kill him. And that's exactly what he did way back when, you know?
I actually did a story on David Branch probably in April before. I forgot who it was that he beat early in the year, but it was leading up to that fight and talked to him again.
He didn't he beat the guy with the hammer on his chest? You know, the Brazilian guy with the hammer drawn on his chest. Thiago Santos.
Was that him?
Yeah, Thiago Santos.
Thiago Santos,
Okay,
April
yeah.
21st.
Yeah.
Well, it was before that. Then spoke to him again at Media Day. He was actually ironically talking about how, you know, a lot of people here, meaning Media Day, are probably not gonna, you know, get to this point or do this and things like that. And it ended up catching him. Jared Cannonier also, when he was getting into the octagon, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he sort of did the dog thing that Israel Adesanya does where you pretend to piss on the octagon.
Oh.
You didn't see that?
No, I didn't really watch the pre-fight.
No, it was when he was entering into the octagon. Like Israel Adesanya did that a couple fights earlier, and then Cannonier
What is
also
like
did the same
he's
thing.
lifting his
Marking
leg
it.
up?
So it's like when he's crawling up the steps, he lifts his leg and then pretends to piss. So then he was asked about that in the press conference. I actually have the full quote here. It was really.
It's not to stretch out his groin muscle because that's part of like a jiu-jitsu stretch out thing. But anyway,
No, but because the difference is he sniffed the pole, right? and then when
ridiculous.
And then when he did his thing, so he said, I wasn't insulting, I wasn't mimicking. He said he's a big fan of Israel Adesanya, but he says when a dog walks down the street and smells another dog's piss in his territory. So he wanted to mark, he said, I'm going to mark my territory, make my presence known so whoever walks in there, they can get a whiff of that well-hydrated piss. And they'll know that the killer gorilla has been there.
Now he's a gorilla?
That
That was his nickname. That's his nickname, the killer gorilla. That's why.
You know, that's
But, yeah.
I just find that.
That was one of my favorite moments because I'm here for the nonsense.
Yeah, you know, you and Matt are coming to a
Yeah.
different angle from me, and that's fine. I respect it because you guys allow
Do you know what it
people
is?
like us to make a living.
Yeah, and I know I'm not a specialist. I know I'm not a coach. Like I'm covering the sport,
Right.
but I know I don't know as much as freaking, you know, all these coaches that I've spoken to, other fighters. Like when I spoke to Cesaro Eubanks for a while, like at Media Day also, and there were things that she said that I had no idea what she was talking about. But fun fact, she actually is the first athlete I've ever interviewed. And full disclosure, I cover like a bunch of different sports, basketball at all levels, baseball sometimes, boxing, MMA. She said that she has a fight hypnotist. Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree with you. You know,
Like,
mental training is
yeah.
yeah.
But
You know, a lot of people
mental training, cool. Like I've talked to, you know, athletes that have counselors and people that they go to advise them in that way, but a fight hypnotist was different, was very different.
Well, you know, I mean, hypnosis is no, but you know, hypnosis is, you know, I wouldn't pretend to be an expert on this, but hypnosis is not like what we see in the movies. It's just a
Don't
deeper,
ruin this for me.
I think it's a deeper level of mental coaching.
Focus.
Yeah, you can't really hypnotize a person and make him like, you know, mow your lawn or something, or like that commercial, right? I mean,
I found a quote. I found a quote where she
Sure.
sort of explains it. She goes, all of this is being able to get into a physical and mental level of relaxation, which is kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And visualization, what you want your outcome to be. And a lot of successful people know that visualization because they can see things before they
Right,
succeed,
exactly.
right? Knowing where you want to go and having that goal is a part of the success. She says she also added that hopefully other fighters don't sort of take that method and borrow it.
No, but I actually, I know actually in the tennis world, hypnosis has been used a lot.
Tennis.
Tennis, yeah. Because, basically when you want to perform, what you want to do is reach your alpha wave state, brain pattern. So that's your optimal performance peak. Sports people call it in the zone. And the more you can enter into the zone, the better you're going to be. And if whatever technique you can find to enter into that zone is best. I was working with a student recently and he's a wonderful student, but he winds up a little bit more in his limbic system, meaning his fight or flight response system. So when you're in that limbic state, that fight or flight, that rah, the gorilla grodd rah state, you can't do anything highly technical. You're not in an alpha wave state. You're in survival, like rah, and so you cannot access your technique or your training at a high level or at any level whatsoever. The quicker and the more deeply you can get to that alpha state, to that performance state, to the fighting with your cerebral cortex is the best. And whatever way you can do it. And it's hard for some people to do it. Just putting fighting aside, when you were 8 years old and you had to stand in front of your, second and third grade class and give a speech on whatever, and you just got so nervous and you couldn't talk and, that's not being able to get your alpha state. And it's about human performance in any field. And what we as humans, we don't know how to surf our adrenaline like we used to 10,000 years ago, because 10,000 years ago, our lives were on the savannah, or 20,000, whatever, on the savannah. And we had adrenalized moments every day of our life. It was survival. Oh, I fell into the river. I have to crawl out. Oh, the saber-toothed tiger is chasing me. But, we had these moments of survival. Right now, your average human being, unless you live in a terrible war zone, you have maybe one highly adrenalized experience, maybe your whole life. Which is why we crave roller coasters and and horror movies. We these things or just
to get that adrenaline.
or just playing video games. To get adrenaline.
Now that's more my
right, but that's also
my bank statement.
A smaller level.
I play GTA
or watching sports. That's why, or playing sports. We crave those adrenaline moments to make up for our lack of it. But we don't know how to surf real adrenaline.
Yeah.
So even these high level athletes, the idea is to train your brain to access that adrenalized state and still maintain the alpha wave pattern. And the only people who do it really consistently on an amazing basis are Force Recon snipers and Navy SEALs, because they just train that over and over again, especially snipers, because they can sit in the middle of the shit and they're trained to slow their heartbeat down, because they have to pull the trigger between heartbeats, because that can actually upset your accuracy. And I don't pretend to be an expert in the skills.
Well, you
of
sound like one.
No.
I don't know shit. So to me, you sound like an expert.
No, definitely not. And I think all my military students are going to be Renee. But I do know that they actually are trained to follow their heartbeat and their breathing and squeeze that trigger slowly. And that alpha state is so important. One of the things that snipers in the Force Recon group are using now, the funny enough is, you're talking about hypnotism, they're actually using direct brain electrical stimulation. So they because it's like hypnosis, but even better.
We're getting so weird.
So they're actually shocking the brain at low levels to stimulate the alpha state and making the alpha state easier, so you can just snap into it whenever you want.
Yeah.
So they sit, I don't know if you know, but they sit these guys in like a box.
Okay.
And the box is filled with like fire ants.
Okay.
And you just have to sit there for like 2 hours and you can't move.
Yeah, no.
And then you have to control your breathing. Like this is all the kind of training you have to do. And
I
guess
get
what?
enough adrenaline watching fights.
Right.
You should have seen me at Barclays Center before Rose was about to fight Joanna, because I had very good interviews with both of them, and I was like, damn, I don't want either one of them to get really fucked up. Like, I was nervous before that fight started.
Right. No, I mean, but and this is the same type of ancient warrior training that everyone went through, because to reach the Michael Jordan zone or whatever it is, you have to master the mental game, the inner game. Coach Rodney King was a famous MMA coach in South Africa. He has this whole course on the inner game. And without that inner game, you can never truly access the technical game. And, if you want to use hypnosis, you want to use direct electrics. I'm telling you, every MMA fighter in 30 years now is going to be doing the same thing. They're going to have electrodes strapped to their head.
Yeah.
And they're going to be doing the same
And they're going to be
Right.
far more advanced, because people forget that we're still somewhat in the infancy stages
Totally.
of the sport,
Absolutely.
because it's only been around,
UFC.
25 years.
regulated like 25 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not regulated, not even.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because they went through, with a sport like this, you're going to go through some shit the first 5, 10, 20, whatever years.
Really, regulation was like 99, 2000.
Yeah, it's only now that we're seeing things like they're on TV all the time, and it's normal to people, and now they're going to get well over $1 billion over 5 years for ESPN. That's going to kick in at the beginning of 2019, and their first card on ESPN is actually going to be here at Barclays Center. So
When is that?
January 19th.
So that's when it switches over and Fox is gone.
Fox is done. It's going to
I'm
be.
so happy that terrible music will go away. I hate that music.
Well, I don't.
It's like that football music.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I don't know what music ESPN is going to have, but
Don't use the football music.
Yeah.
ESPN, please listen to me. Keep the sport music separate.
yeah, it's going to be very interesting for a number of reasons.
There's nobody listed yet for the fight.
No, they're supposed to announce that soon. I don't know who it is. I'm trying to find out
And that's
myself.
a fight night, or is that the pay-per-view
No,
card?
so what they're doing is the first Barclays Center card is actually going to be a fight night. It's called UFC on ESPN Plus 1. After that is going to be a pay-per-view. I think it's 233, because 234 is Robert Whittaker versus Gastelum, February in Australia. And Israel Adesanya wants to fight Robert Whittaker next in Australia, I think.
Good fight. Good
That makes
fight.
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And shit, yeah, so that's what they're doing. They're going to have UFC on ESPN Plus, UFC on ESPN, just ESPN period. And they're going to have UFC obviously still on pay-per-view. I guess they're still going with the pay-per-view model. I don't know what that means for Fight Pass necessarily in terms of newer fights, maybe just some undercards and things like that. But I don't think they're going to be putting entire cards on Fight Pass, because they announced their schedule and I didn't really see any of that. It's January, February. I think March, there's like 5, like March 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th.
Can I ask you a stupid question?
I love stupid questions.
Is ESPN like a premium cable channel, or is it like you could just flick onto ESPN? I've never actually gone to ESPN channel. It's like you just flick the channels to get ESPN, or do you have to like buy it like HBO?
No, it's not subscription.
okay.
Like, it'll come with.
I have literally never. People
It'll
are
come
like,
with
what?
mostly all packages, pretty much. ESPN Plus is not a channel. That's online.
Right. Okay.
You can hook it up to your TV like anything else.
But the
it's
UFC is going to be on the regular ESPN channel.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes. They're going to have all the exclusive stuff. They'll probably have original content, which makes it interesting because, Ariel Helwani's there now. You're not a fan?
Hi, Ariel.
Well, Matt was telling me a little bit about this. I like Ariel. We don't have to necessarily get into that because you're more on the fighter side. I'm more on the journalistic side.
Have you ever interviewed him? Or
First of all, anybody who thinks who starts a discussion about Steven Seagal with Master Steven Seagal, a great fighter, doesn't know shit about shit.
Well, here's the thing. This is why we receive him differently, so to speak. I don't go to him for fight knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's where
because he has none.
That's where I'll go.
None.
That's where I'll
He's
go.
all like razzle dazzle, like the
tag
bullshit.
him in this episode.
Right, but that's where I'll go to like the Joe Rogan Experience, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I don't really listen to that either anymore.
Even though you were featured on the Joe Rogan Experience.
I was twice actually, and I appreciate Joe Rogan and
I gotta find that.
I appreciate what he brings to the table. I just politically I'm very very different, right? And if you bring on someone like Jordan Peterson and don't or the Infowars guy, and you
Alex
don't
Jones.
and you don't actually confront them with in a way that exposes what full of shit they are, then I don't think that's socially conscious.
Yeah.
But you have to, and Joe Rogan is not qualified to do that. So you should have brought on someone who could have debated them. I'm not saying shut down the debate, but you bring on someone who's qualified to go on that level of debate and really pick apart the arguments, because they're quite faulty.
I don't think that's what he's trying to do either.
No, he's not.
So he's not.
No, but you can't give these people a platform. You can't give, Milo Yiannopoulos a platform
Responsibility.
without giving someone to really knock him down. I'm all about debate, and I don't believe in censoring debate. But so that's one reason I don't really listen to Joe Rogan podcast anymore. But I respect what he's doing. As in terms of fight knowledge, I make fun of his overstatements, but he brings a lot to the table. I love his commentary, and I'm also very grateful that he and Master Eddie Bravo were complimentary of my rack guard game. But that's just a personal choice. I'm not saying don't listen to Joe Rogan podcast. I'm sure he brings on a lot of really interesting people. I know he's had a lot of experts in a lot of fields in the martial arts and in breathing. He had Belissa Branich on, who's a breathing expert. He had Stephen Maxwell, who's a kettlebells super amazing martial artist. He's a lot of guys on who have a lot of information, but me personally, I don't listen to it anymore.
Yeah, but for back to Ariel, I go to him for obviously the news and stuff like that. I don't go to pass guard here and things like you know what I mean? That's where I'll go for like somebody else, like Joe Rogan, for example.
Yeah. I cannot. Everything that comes out of his mouth is like,
He's going to be on the show in a few weeks.
I want to be here with
it out
I'll
in the ether.
I want to be here. I want to be here for that.
And
You can fill in for him.
Okay, this is an important thing. We had a crew, Chris Romulo on, and he does not, he doesn't watch UFC because he's like me. He doesn't like the razzle dazzle. He doesn't like the news. And I understand that. I understand that sales fan experience is what gives the money for us martial artists to really pursue our craft, because, it's a small percentage of people who are dedicated to self-defense and dedicated to fighting. And then the fans are the ones who fill out Barclays Arena or Madison Square Garden. And most of those people are just want to be entertained, or again, have those adrenaline moments of excitement, to get away from their humdrum lives and their, empty existences.
But as like the entire sport of MMA continues to grow, you're going to become like more engulfed in what the money is, the fan experience is, and you're going to find less and less guys who actually know what they're talking about. So
I don't know, because when I talk to
boxing's already been through that, where it's like people watch only the big fights and things like that.
I disagree because you know what I think? I've seen the opposite happen. I see guys that come to my dojo. My dojo is my training hall, right?
Yeah,
They've never trained before. But they, like if people watch pro wrestling, they're like, oh, there's that sharpshooter move, and there's this, and it's not even freaking real. And the same thing. I talked to
it's a live action movie. That's what I call professional wrestling.
A live action comic book. That you could say that too, right?
I mean, I guess is a comic book a movie automatically?
Yeah, but like that's I see. Because they're muscles.
Yeah. Okay, cartoonish.
The muscles.
But there's still athleticism, but we don't have to get into that rabbit hole unless you want to.
I wouldn't. It depends how you define athleticism.
Muscles,
there's strength. There's strength, but there isn't reaction.
There's strength. There's movement. You know what I mean? There's legitimate agility. There's
dancers. They're basically muscle-bound dancers.
Choreographed, obviously. You know what I mean? Like there's predetermined wins and things like that.
If you're going to say the people who do river dance are amazing athletes, then I would agree with you. But I think most people wouldn't. They'd say they're good performers. And I think there's a line drawn between athletes and performers, because an athlete has to have, and it goes back to what's real in a fight, an athlete has to have reaction time. You see the ball coming here and you react. There's no reaction when it's choreographed.
Yeah, it's all staged reaction.
So one of the most important elements of athletic performance, and you can see this in football, and I don't know anything in football, but it's juking, like changing angles from one place to another, like going, oh, I have to go here, but I have to go here. And that angle changing and reaction time and adjusting and adapting to the reality that you face right now is one of the most important characteristics of an athlete on a physical basis. And pro wrestlers don't have that. They don't have that at all.
I still think there's
No, they're
a
great
level.
yeah.
There's a level of athleticism there, though, because they're obviously
like I said, it
they're
depends
training
on
all the time and things of that nature too.
Right. It depends on how you define athletics. Like if you were going to define a ballerina as an amazing athlete instead of an amazing performer, I would say yes. You could. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very well could.
I personally don't.
Yeah.
But but that's just that. I think ballerinas are amazing. I think Cirque du Soleil performers are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They're amazing performers who use their body, but but they're missing attributes that would be necessary in a combat scenario.
Okay.
So for me personally, I don't define those as you could say performance athlete versus
a performance athlete is
a performance athlete is
work.
someone someone in the Olympics doing, ice dancing or something. So that they are athletes.
I was gonna say something way different,
Right,
like jumping through fire hoops or something like that.
No, but like ice dancing or something.
Tightrope
Right,
walker.
but
Right.
because you know what your partner is doing, and you know that, and so yeah, I guess at some level they're athletes. I would say you're right, but to me they're missing a very important criteria of a combat athlete.
Like they're not a full like
They
I'm
don't
not
have the
gonna
full package,
Yeah,
right.
like I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, okay, Daniel Bryan is equivalent to Tyron Woodley.
I have no idea who Daniel Bryan is. Who's Daniel Bryan?
Do you know who Daniel Bryan is?
I know the name, and I would pick him out of a lineup.
Is he a pro
but-
wrestler?
Yes, he's one of the
I'm
more.
so happy I don't know who that is.
He's one of the more skilled ones. I'm not
what?
gonna waste.
What? Okay.
No, there's skill in professional wrestling. Like there are some who are great at it, and there are some who are
Okay.
not.
Oh, you mean
can
the
tell
skill
visually.
of performance? Okay.
Yeah.
Not
Literally.
like fight skill.
No. I mean,
Okay.
that I don't know about. There are some legitimate fighters, like obviously Ronda Rousey now, who has gone on to do WWE.
Right.
Shayna Baszler is another one.
She's in WWE now.
Oh, she's great. Yeah,
didn't know
she's
that.
great.
Huh.
Jessamine Duke, I think also like that
She's in
whole
the WWE?
the whole four horsewomen.
They're all-
they're all there now.
Oh,
They're
'cause
all
they
there
didn't really
now.
make it in a.
Don't forget Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, who was in Bellator for a while and is still under contract with Bellator, and actually has a good record with Bellator.
Yeah,
too.
he's not bad. He's not bad.
I don't-
And then also, there was the.
And he was a
the one-
professional wrestler first.
Right. But there was the one guy.
Alberto Del Rio.
No, he won the Olympics. And then he went to professional wrestling, but his
Shamrock?
next.
No.
No.
Oh, you know who's there now too? Matt Riddle. He's also
Matt
yeah.
Riddle
WWE. Wow.
Won the Olympics.
He's
Big
shaved
guy?
his head.
Kurt Angle.
Right.
Yeah,
Kurt Angle
Kurt
is
Angle.
an amazing wrestler, and he,
Yeah.
can't submit for anybody for life. But you know that story about when they did that contenders thing, and he got tapped out by a low level UFC guy.
No, wait.
So okay, so they were
I'm
trying.
here for this.
Oh yeah, this is all on TV, and you can look it up. So I actually sat through it. Not, like the replay.
Wait,
Yeah,
was this
so-
in 2004 when he was
Yes.
already with WWE?
Yes,
Wait,
yes,
he got
yes.
tapped. What's the guy's name?
And he was an Ultimate Fighter guy.
Yeah.
Right,
Damn.
Yeah, right.
White dude, blonde hair.
Yes, exactly.
I
right.
know who it is.
Yeah.
Hold on.
He sucks.
You know.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm gonna find this.
I remember that. And the guy tapped out with the Kimura, I believe it was. And,
Yeah.
And then
He didn't last very long in the WWE. Apparently, he rubbed some people the wrong way. But I remember because
Yeah.
a lot of Ken Shamrock was another one that went to WWE. By the way, yeah.
But
a lot of
he started out in pro wrestling.
Yeah, obviously. But when they sort of transition, they still have like the fight gear. They fight with those same gloves.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of the wrestlers that transition into MMA, Shayna Baszler doesn't do that, but you could tell she has an MMA background. Obviously, Ronda, her finishing move is the armbar that she used to catch, other women with. So let me see who that guy is. I know it was 2004.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought this up. Like, I'm not even joking. When I find the name, it's gonna kill me.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
And I remember he was even in the Royal Rumble in 2005, and then Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero chopped the shit out of him before throwing him over the
I'll
top.
give you
rope,
$100 if you can
Daniel
describe
Puder.
what those guys look like. Chris Benoit.
Is he the guy who died in the?
Yeah. We ain't gotta talk about that. Daniel Puder. Daniel Puder is
Daniel
his name.
Puder, yes,
That was
Daniel
him.
Puder,
Daniel
right.
Puder is his name.
Yes.
He had him in the. I remember.
right, yeah.
So they had. It was like Tough Enough. It
Yeah,
was like
right.
It was
That's
$1 million Tough Enough.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Tough Enough really was a reality TV show or
Yes.
whatever.
They were trying to copy the Ultimate Fighter, kind of, or maybe vice versa, whatever.
Well,
were
they
like this
did
kind of
it.
similar
They did
thing.
it first. I
Right.
think.
I mean, I don't know which
yeah.
was first, but it was like the same thing. It was like,
Yeah. But it was similar. But
Yeah.
they did it. Yeah, actually, yeah, it was the same concept because they put guys in a house.
I don't know which one was first, right?
Yeah, but they had their first season in 2002, I believe, or 2001, actually. And then this was like their third season in 2004 where they made it $1 million. And they had a challenge to see who could actually,
Yeah, they had a shoot, right?
Yeah.
And
they had
Kurt
a
Angle's
shoot
like,
thing.
"You'll never tap me," and he's like,
and then Daniel Puder got him, so they had.
He was so pissed.
It was
too.
like it was a messy situation or whatever. They had to like try to cover it up, and I think it was on SmackDown, and SmackDown was taped. So it was taped Tuesdays, aired Thursdays. I think it was. I'm on his.
I remember
Wikipedia
seeing
right
the video
now.
of the fight. I didn't watch the show, but I actually sat through because it was
During an unscripted segment of Tough Enough, Kurt Angle, a former American amateur wrestler and 1996 Olympic gold medalist, challenged the finalists through a squat thrust competition. He took somebody else down and broke his ribs. Kurt Angle did. Took somebody else down, broke his ribs because, like you said, he could obviously really wrestle, and then made him submit with a neck crank, right? So then when he wrestled with Puder, let me see, he took Puder down, Angle did, and then in the process, that's when he got caught with the Kimura lock.
And it was funny because I remember it was
Angle
like
attempted a
really,
pin.
Yeah, it was a really basic. It was like a day one jiu-jitsu move, but he did it well. So
what it was is that he attempted a pin because he was really caught in the Kimura, and then one of the referees quickly counted the 3 so that it looked like Angle still won.
Oh,
yeah,
sneaky.
And his shoulders, Puder's shoulders were not fully down on the mat because he got up at 2. But then there's some comments about it, and I'm definitely going to go into this rabbit hole later on. I ought to look this up now.
But
Wrestling's
this is
fake.
interesting, Ken. I don't get pro wrestling. I just don't get it. I never did.
Puder was 8-0 in MMA, by the way.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
8-0 in MMA between 2003 and 2009.
Yeah.
And he was in Strike. Oh, he was in Strike Force?
Yeah.
I did not know he fought in Strike Force 4 times. Wow. He was on the Shamrock versus Gracie undercard.
Yeah, he
in
was.
2006.
Holy
shit. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he made Kurt Angle tap out. Damn, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's
It'd be
great.
fun to watch that.
But
We're missing the big winner on UFC 230. We haven't talked about him yet.
which one was that?
Israel Adesanya?
Derrick Lewis.
Oh.
Big winner.
Yo, his
payday. His payday was
his
big.
year.
Free Popeyes chicken for
Oh
life.
my God, that's right.
That's worth everything.
His year has been so crazy that regardless of the loss to DC, his stock rises, and he's had this sort of meteoric,
Did
leveling
he go
up.
from like 2,000 followers on Instagram to like over 1 million?
He went from 250,000 to well over 1 million.
That's why his balls are hot.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. Nobody talks about the Francis Ngannou fight anymore. Like it never even happened when he fought Francis Ngannou
Right,
during
it's just
the
the
summer.
hype train. It's just the hype train.
No, but it's
just silly.
No, but it's crazy because Ngannou, obviously Derrick Lewis hurt his back during the fight, and Ngannou didn't take advantage. He was very gun shy and still obviously recovering from the Stipe fight. And we were under the impression that Derrick Lewis wasn't going to fight for a while after because of his back, but he got it quote unquote fixed. I don't know what happened, and he was right back in the octagon in October. Was losing to Volkov, had the miraculous knockout, and then one fight later is fighting for the title. It's like his stock has risen so far up, more so than a lot of other guys in the company, obviously.
Right, and it's not because of skill, which is
Well, the heavyweight
unfortunate.
division kind of
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah, heavyweights.
overall.
It's just it's
He's
a process.
wildly entertaining, and he does have that sort of knockout punch to where, like, look, I really think this time he's not going to be in the octagon anytime soon, but let's say he comes back next spring or summer, people are going to be clamoring, whatever card it is, if he's the main event, which he could main event, not a pay-per-view card, but he could main event, like one of the Fight Night cards or whatever on ESPN, or if he's like co-main event against another highly ranked contender on a pay-per-view card, people are going to be, like, he's going to be one of the reasons that card does well in terms of buys or views or whatever it is, because people just want to see him now, because the balls are hot.
Yeah, but he was the new Francis Ngannou, and before Francis Ngannou, it was Kurt Angle. I mean, not Kurt Angle. Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, before Brock Lesnar, it was there's a big scary dude.
Overeem.
Like Overeem. Yes, Overeem was in there. Big, although Overeem, actually had some legitimate K1 titles and things like that.
Until he lost his juice.
Yeah. Until he lost his juice. Right?
Deflated.
Yeah, right. And I mean, we have this parade of big scary. Before that, it was Derek Brunson was in there. There's the other guy with the haircut that looks like
Dan Hardy?
No, he's a black guy. And he always has a weird haircut. It kind of looks like fecal matter on his head. He fights in Bellator now. I forgot his name.
Benson Henderson?
No. He's bigger guy.
bigger dude.
Yeah, what's his name?
Black dude
he
from Bellator.
always has a weird haircut, and it's like, anyway. But there's this parade of like
I'm gonna work on trying to get that.
lesser skilled guys who are big and scary, and most of the time, unfortunately, black. You know, like it's like they're playing to kind of a stereotype. And
Czech Congo?
No, after that. But yeah, what's his name? He fights in Bellator. He's
Muhammad Lawal? Phil Davis.
What's his name?
It's definitely not Phil Davis.
Rampage?
No.
It starts with an L?
Yeah, L is it? No.
Linton Vassell?
No, shoot, maybe not L.
King Mo?
No.
That's what I said. I was like, all right, anyway.
Yeah, he
Michael
was-
Page?
No. He kind of has that like the old kid and play haircut sometimes where he has the big. I
have no idea.
The only dude I know with like a kid and play his haircut is Sterling.
No.
From UFC, but you're not talking about him.
No,
Yeah.
not that much. But like he always like has a weird haircut, and the back of his head is always like styled a little weird. He sometimes comes up. He says he trains kung fu. What's his name? Shoot. Anyway, but he's like this parade of guys that are just big and scary, and they fill seats, which is interesting because like while I see MMA as a search for technical excellence, you don't always have technically excellent people who are fighting. So like you have guys with tremendous knockout power.
Ooh, Roy Nelson. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I love watching Roy Nelson.
Of course.
I'm trying to figure out who the guy is.
It's gonna kill me.
You're making
Yeah.
it up. There's no guy in Bellator
No,
with
is he
a
not
flat
in
top.
Bellator? No, not a flat top. Just
With no hair. All the guys in Bellator
Yeah, all the
are bald.
dudes that you mentioned are bald. Like,
Shoot, is he not in Bellator? I thought he was in Bellator.
is he not in Bellator?
I don't know how to Google this without getting on a list.
Yeah,
I think he used to
I
play
put-
football. I think he played football.
I put black fighter from Bellator haircut, and then it comes up that Shane Burgos apparently got a haircut mid-fight at UFC 102.
Mid
Oh, wow.
fight. Wow. That's
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Shane Burgos had a good
It's bang for getting
had a
his
good
eyes.
had a good finish on UFC 230 also on the undercard. I think that what's it called?
Let's just talk about guys' hair for the next half hour. Who's got the best hair in UFC? Uriah Faber had good hair.
Uriah Faber had good hair. Recently.
So does Liz Carmouche.
What's that the new Matrix striker guy?
Oh shit!
Not Israel.
Yeah, he looks like he has the tattoos.
Sean O'Malley?
Sean O'Malley. That guy's a interesting haircut.
Him and Israel. So I play UFC 3 obviously sometimes. They Israel and Sean O'Malley, both of them, they just updated them and put them into the game or whatever.
Is that
right?
game worth it?
Oh yeah.
It was
They
like
keep-
a
you know what it
on
is?
sale recently.
You know what it is though, because they keep updating it. They keep updating it between the two of them.
No DLC. You got to pay for it, or it's just free.
No. They just put it in there. It's not like with WWE. Like you have to pay $20 for the season pass and all this stuff. But Sean O'Malley and Israel Adesanya, they finally put him in the game, and they just put Mackenzie Dern in the game. Also,
Well, she's only had a couple fights in UFC, right?
yeah, but still, like she's
She dominated at least.
yeah, she's supposed. Was she the one that weighed like 7 pounds over?
Yeah, she
strawweight?
lost weight like twice in a
Yeah.
row. Did they have her weight like accurate in the game?
Yeah,
Fluctuates a lot.
Well, they have her as a strawweight. I don't know, but with women is different, Like
Yeah.
with women is I think it's tougher for them because they're curvy, obviously. With guys, I don't know, but with Israel Adesanya, he's in the game. Sean O'Malley's in the game. Their moves are in the game, which is crazy. Israel's very fun to use in that game too.
It's been a long time since there's been a good UFC game because they always have trouble.
Well, my issue with UFC 3 is, and they've actually, some of the grappling is cleaned up. Like they've made a concerted effort for that. My issue is just the career mode. Cause it's kind of like, if you don't become the champion, then there's kind of no point.
Yeah.
Where it's like, look, man, like sometimes you want to just have a different sort of path, not in terms of not becoming a champion, but it's almost unrealistic to where you have to be undefeated. Otherwise you're forced to retire.
Interesting.
And it's like, I don't think that necessarily is the case.
So you make yourself in the game?
No. I can't because I wouldn't do that for a living. Like with me, I'm too aware of the damages. You know what I mean? That things could cost. Like I'm too aware of CTE to want to put myself in that position. You know what I mean? Like that's basically where I'm at.
What's the
with
worst
terms of
fight Brian's ever been in?
that. The worst fight that I've ever been in real life?
Yeah.
There was I got beat pretty bad ones in 5th grade, where dude's stronger than me, because we had a couple fights. I got him back the second time. So I could say I avenged that one. But the first one, I don't even know how it got here, but I remember being pressed up against the wall and he was actually like holding me and hitting me in the face. Uh-huh. But I ended up getting him back the next year when we were in like 6th grade or whatever. I wouldn't say that I know how to fight necessarily, but I got him in a rear naked choke. So but this was like long time ago. I don't even know if I knew what a rear naked choke was, but that's kind of like, if you don't know how to fight, that's like a basic submission that you know how to do.
No, it's, interesting because, our knowledge base of fighting just through video games and through watching MMA and osmosis from that has increased. I listened to one MMA commentator or a mixed martial art fighter, and he said, well, in the street fight, people aren't throwing like, Superman punches. I'm like, I don't know. These days people are fighting much better than they were.
Let me tell you, when I bought Fight Night 2004, when I was 10 years old. So this was it was 2004. Roy Jones was on the cover. Roy Jones Jr. was on the cover. Boxing game. I learned a lot from playing that game.
It's so realistic. The games, even 10 years ago, the movements are correct.
I learned a lot from playing that game, like uppercut. I learned what a bolo punch was. I learned that you shouldn't do that in a fight and things like that. And then sort of the same thing with UFC games, with MMA games. Like you sort of learn things, and it's not like that would have been frowned upon 10 to 15 years ago. But I feel like with video games, because I'm a gamer still, like I've gained a lot of knowledge just from doing that.
You learn a lot from Grand Theft Auto.
I do. I do.
But
actually.
can I tell you something?
But you learn of what not to do. You know what I mean?
Right. Can I tell you two? I want to give 2 anecdotes here. The first is there was a guy with a knife on New York City subway, harassing and trying to stab someone.
Sounds right.
And another guy came and double-legged him.
Oh, I heard about this.
Right. And took the knife from him and put him in a choke.
Yeah.
And he'd never trained before. And the guy's like, how'd you learn? He's like, I'm a huge UFC fan.
Shit.
Yeah. He never trained before. It just shows that you watch enough. You can visual learning is a thing.
Honestly,
obviously, it's lower level. But it's a thing.
God forbid, knock on wood, I get in a street fight. But I feel like I would be able to defend myself better in some capacity, having gone through that and having listened to people like Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo and other guys like that.
It's surfing around in the back of your brain. Obviously, nothing replaces real training.
Right.
But
although I do want to do real training at some point.
Right. Well, you're always welcome to my place. But
where is it at?
29th Street and right near Penn Station.
Oh, what are your prices like?
I will. Yeah, I don't want to see.
Once I kind of get a set schedule, then but
whenever I have a new student come, I always send them videos to study before they come in, because visual learning and setting the template. Think of your brain as a bulletin board, and you put a couple tacks up. Oh, this and this, and it's hanging out there.
Yeah,
it sets a paradigm, kind of a box where you can fill things in a little deeper. But first you have the outlines of something, and then you color in the details.
Yeah.
Obviously nothing is better than actual training, but visual learning is a real thing. And if you visual learn enough, you can be surprised what you can do. And, I remember training with one guy. I was preparing for a fight.
What was his name?
I
just want to talk beef.
No. He was a great guy.
Okay.
And he had never really done full on MMA before training, like full sparring, and we're sparring. And he does, I'm on my back in the guard, and he does, this axe kick move to my head.
Wow.
And he's like, I'm like, oh, that was really awesome. That's fantastic. You must have practiced that. He's no. I remember watching George St. Pierre do that, in the UFC like, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you mean you never practiced that? And he's like, no, I just remember what he did and I did it. He did it perfectly. He did it. Obviously he's trained. He was already trained, but he trained more, he never put it together completely, and he'd never done that move before. But because he'd seen it, and he was a, beginning starting out fighter. He was not like, pro or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because he'd seen it, he could recreate it. It was interesting.
Israel Adesanya gave me a similar story to where, because he talked a lot about going based off feeling and things of that nature, right? So this was at a luncheon, and it was really just me and him and a couple of UFC videographers. So I got to talk to him like a good amount. This was Tuesday before he knocked out Derek Brunson. And he talked about doing a move. I don't remember if it was a tornado kick, 360 spin. I don't remember, but it was one of those type of kicks where he was just fighting once and he was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And he just kind of did it, never practiced it before. And I think he knocked the guy out. This may have been in kickboxing, not in MMA.
Probably, right.
But yeah, like something like that.
That's what the alpha state is, that you can connect to a mental state where your body, it can just reproduce what you want it to do. So you see something in your head and your body does it. High level athletes, that's why they go to the alpha state, because it allows you to be at your peak performance. And with him, with all his experience, all his knowledge of his body as a machine, he's like, well, I visualized this thing. I saw it. Okay, let me do it. And he can do it because he's so trained.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the fighter that I was training, he'd trained martial arts before. He wasn't a beginner, but, that particular move he'd never done before.
The axe kick, yeah.
In that particular angle, he'd never practiced it before, he'd never done it. He just saw it and thought it was really good, and he did it perfectly. So, you know, visual learning is key, but you have to have a foundation too, I think, you know, of an athlete. And I think that guy on the subway platform probably, you know, had some good athletics, you know, like,
Probably, yeah.
you know, like there's certain
He
people.
wasn't a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
He was a UFC fan.
I don't know, you know. Yeah.
I mean, look, he could have been a wrestling fan too.
It's possible.
It's possible that they cross over. Evidently.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Daniel Cormier might fight Brock Lesnar for also the WWE title.
That was
might
actually
happen.
good trash talk. That was a good trash talk. I think he's like, you come here, you bring that, I get both.
Yeah,
you know?
Daniel Cormier, go to WWE.
But
We're done.
No, he's
Get out of here.
why?
He's old. He can just retire.
He
in the
does
WWE.
want to retire after
I
his
want to
next
see
fight.
him fight John Jones.
I agree, but
I don't think they will.
I don't think they sound like they want to do. This is basically what he said at the press
Are you
conference,
kidding?
right?
John
He's
Jones is
going to
probably
lose so bad.
But this is basically what Daniel Cormier said at the press conference. He said he basically all but confirmed Brock Lesnar's next in March if Brock Lesnar can do it. If Brock Lesnar can't do it, then he will fight who's the other? Stipe rematch. And then if he can't do that, John Jones 205, assuming he gets past Gustafsson.
I think John Jones should come up in weight.
I don't think
And beat
Cormier
Pete.
That's
should
what
go
I'm
back
saying,
down.
but
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like John Jones wants to fight a heavyweight, but I think he should. But it's because Cormier is bigger there, doesn't have to cut weight. He would probably want to make him cut weight, but I'm like, yo, if you beat him twice already.
Yeah.
I think John Jones should go up to heavyweight.
I think he should do what he did and try to fight for 2 titles, because John Jones has talk about an adaptive fighter.
Yeah.
And I hate John Jones outside of the ring. But inside the ring, he's Mr. Perfect. I mean, he does so many interesting.
Is he the best you've ever seen?
No, because he does make
Best in the
mistakes.
universe.
No, he does make mistakes.
Who is the
but
best you've ever seen?
You in the mirror, right?
Loaded question. It's probably going to be GSP. Is it GSP?
No.
Mighty Mouse?
Yeah,
David Brandt.
Mighty Mouse?
I'd say I'd look up there. It's hard to say.
What do you think of that trade with Mighty Mouse and
I
Ben
think it's a great
Askren?
idea. I think it's a great idea. Fantastic idea because
Ben Askren was there.
Right.
Oh,
really?
I saw him. He was right amongst Jose Aldo was there, Wonder Boy was there,
Yeah.
Cody Garbrandt was there. They were all there.
I think DJ is one, he can make a lot more money out there. So I think it's a great trade because he can refresh. Like fighting a different location, a different ring, it's a way to, this goes back to, forget about MMA. It goes back to any martial arts. Like you do something over and over again.
Sure.
Unless you mix it up, it can get a little stale. And DJ's been fighting for a long time. And you could tell in that last fight, he's like, I lost, whatever. I'm going to go hang out with my kid.
That's true.
Something has to reignite your passion other than a paycheck. And
Yeah.
first of all, a paycheck is important. And
Yeah,
DJ
Eddie
was not
Alvarez-
getting paid what he deserved.
Eddie Alvarez reportedly, he claims to have gotten 8 figures from one championship. I would assume Mighty Mouse gets whatever he got and maybe more.
Right. Good for him. And the thing is, there's a huge stable of guys his weight who want to train him. And he's also, the ONE FC championship, because obviously it's Asia, they're dealing with a lot of Thai fighters who fight at a lower weight. They're dealing with a lot of people from different martial arts there. That there's a large body of fighters right at that weight. Whereas, DJ's kind of fighting the same guys or guys who cut down
That's
from
true.
135.
He fought John Dotson twice.
Twice, right? And he fought Cejudo twice, so it's like, okay, am I gonna just fight the same guys over again?
The only fight left for him was probably Dillashaw, right?
Right, but then you'd have to go up.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to go up because of the damage. And I totally understand that. He's like, if you're not paying me a whole crap load of money, I'm not going to take extra damage.
Yeah.
Good. I totally get that, And I think also, but he has to reignite that passion. He goes somewhere else. He goes to Asia, different people, different thing, new challenges. It can ignite his passion. Then, 2 years he comes back. And then, he's refreshed, he's ready, and maybe he'll bring, maybe this is the start of a lot of, because whether it's Legacy or Tachi or a lot of these other fighting organizations, the one that what we deal with, Premier, they feed into the UFC. One FC, I think, is trying to promote themselves not as a competitor to the UFC, but as a
alternative,
as another brand that we can maybe feed in and okay, we're doing this in Asia. We won't jump on your market. We'll stay.
Well, they
Singapore.
might now.
Yeah,
they probably should now.
Yeah, but I think they're going to say, let's have a complementary relationship rather than an adversarial. Chatri Sittudong is a very smart businessman.
Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't have made the trade.
Why am I going to take on the UFC and create an enemy when we can have some sort of cooperative relationship? And that's right. Okay, we'll take the China, we'll take the Singapore, we'll take the Indonesia, we'll take the Philippine market, which is small potatoes for you, but big for us. And you can still come to that market, but what we'll do is we'll develop talent and send them your way, and then we all win. And I think that's a great idea. And also, ONE FC also has kickboxing only fights, which the UFC does not. So
Bellator too.
Yeah, Bellator too. Yeah, I mean, Bellator sucks, but
well, I was actually going to ask, if you could make a trade between UFC and Bellator,
give Musasi back.
Oh, for who?
Anybody. Okay, you know what?
Not Woodley, right?
Eddie Alvarez.
Well, he's gone to ONE FC now, so you can't even do that trade.
Okay, Derek Brunson. oh no,
that's not even a fair trade.
Anybody. Musasi's like really good, and he needs some.
He killed Rory McDonald.
Of course he did.
Yeah,
this is a better fight. He should for the paycheck. I understand why he left, but like Bellator is just like and Ben Askren's the same thing. There's only so many guys under your level you can beat before you're like, okay, this is getting boring.
That's probably, and he's never been in the UFC, so this would be a whole, that's why he's calling out everybody.
Right, but now he's in the shit, and that's great to see. Let's see how your funk wrestling style works.
And he said basically openly that he doesn't want to fight Tyron Woodley. They're friends. It doesn't sound like they're going to fight each other.
That's totally fine.
So, I'm fine with that because he could
There's so many people in that weight class. But I'd like to see Ben Askren, George St. Pierre at 170.
I want to see Tyron versus George St. Pierre.
Yeah, I don't think Tyron would win.
Someone I would like to see at UFC is their women's flyweight champion, McFarlane from Bellator. She's probably can beat most of the flyweights that they have now. No disrespect.
Yeah, because
the flyweight division is still new for them.
Right, exactly.
That's why.
Right. And it's hard. The women's division in any organization it's still developing. It's like the men's division was in 98 or 2000 where it was just kind of developing and the stable was just not wide enough. It's getting better. It's getting much better. I'm watching The Ultimate Fighter, with the women's team.
Yeah.
And you can
You're watching that?
I always watch The Ultimate Fighter.
Really? Even last season?
I watch every Ultimate Fighter. I fast forward. I only watch
the fights.
The fight or what I'm really interested in is the coaching.
Training.
So when I go into the coaching montage, when they're coaching and I just watch, and I actually picked up a thing from Whitaker. I'm like, oh, that's good. That's gold right there. And then Whitaker was doing something that I do all the time. I tell my fighters, go do this all the time. I'm like, yes, see? And I made all my fighters see what Whitaker said. I say that to you all the time. And you better freaking do it now.
Yeah. But you're right. You're right about the women though. I do think it's gotten better. I'm much better. I'm super, super, super excited for Valentina versus Joanna.
Yeah.
And then Cyborg Nunez.
But look
both in December.
No disrespect, but look at Roxanne Modafferi versus Shajara Eubanks in the last fight.
Okay.
It's not a that's like it's not anything.
That's your summary? How do you write that out?
Yeah. That was the fight where I went to the refrigerator and got some chips. Wow. And that's not because of a gender thing. It just wasn't. I mean, the same thing in the Jacare, Weidman fight, but it was not a technically interesting fight. It was not something that pushed the envelope of technique, and to me, it was just like, okay.
I had a very good interview with Shajara Eubanks
I'm not
Thursday,
saying she's not.
So I'm not going to say anything bad about her.
No, and I'm not. I'm sure she's going to turn into an amazing
Bryan
fighter.
Says good things about it.
Yeah, I'm sure she's going to turn into an amazing fighter. That performance. The weight cut is hard for her. She's it diminishes her performance.
Yeah,
but her jiu-jitsu.
Suffered her
looked
twice.
really bad in that fight. It was really bad. Her jiu-jitsu looked really bad.
I mean, to that point,
She couldn't pass the guard.
What does that say about Roxanne?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, but Roxanne's not that good. She's not.
I think she was 22-15, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, in crap leagues in Asia.
Cesar.
Like, I'm sorry, but Roxanne is just I give her. She's the heart, amazing heart.
Yeah,
I
but-
love her to
but
death. The
since
personality.
that's
but
a-
you are she goes to the deep end of the. She lost the genetic lottery.
Yeah, but that's a new division. So to your point, that's where the bantamweights and the strawweights are pretty advanced, at least in comparison to the flyweights.
No, I would say the top 10 people are really good, but then after that, top 8 are really good, and then there's a huge drop off in any women's division. And that's no disrespect to the women fighters; it's the nature of the game.
Yeah, but if flyweight in particular, they didn't even have a flyweight division this time last year. They were just sort of forming it through the Ultimate Fighter, and then
true.
that's how Nico Montano had a title.
Who's not bad.
Yeah.
She's one dimensional, but she's not bad.
I would have liked to have seen how she did against Valentina, even though I pretty much thought everyone thought Valentina would have won. But that's why I'm so excited about the Joanna Valentina fight, and
that's going to be a great.
That
fight.
division needs energy. You know what I mean? It needs a spark, a kick in the ass to it. And these are two of the best female fighters. I still think Joanna. What do you think about the Joanna Rose fight, the second one?
It was a good fight.
Do you think Rose won?
Of course.
By the margin that 49-46 3 times, I think it was?
I have to watch it again, but I
don't think Joanna got enough credit for her leg kicks.
Yeah, that's true. But that might be true. I have to watch it again, but Rose definitely did much more damage in that fight. So you won. She won.
This is why I thought it was fairly even. I do think Rose edged it out, but I do think it was fairly even from the standpoint of Joanna outstruck her, and also the leg kicks. I don't think she got enough credit for it. She had welts in her legs. Rose did. I think what Rose did was hit her harder.
Yeah.
And she also had 1 or 2 takedowns.
Yeah. And also Rose hit her harder in the head.
Yeah.
Leg kicks don't equal head kicks. Or head punches. That's just true.
No. Right.
Yeah. So
right.
I mean, if I'm looking at that,
but
fight,
I thought it was a very good fight.
It was very, very technical.
It was my
fight.
favorite fight of that
card. It was a very good fight. And two amazing. And one thing I really amazed at Rose's evolution as a fighter, she's so much better than she was before. And, and just amazing. I love to see the same with Henry. She's like the Henry Cejudo of the women's division, where she was sort of one dimensional, had a lot of weaknesses, and then plugged every single one of them up. And is like, it's hard to find an area where she's not, really excellent. And honestly, I look at her footwork and how smart it is. And she beat Joanna with footwork.
Yeah.
And Joanna's good. I mean, that girl is freaking good.
Yeah. She's a monster.
And I'm a real fan of hers. I'm a fan of both of them. Yeah. And that fight was a very technical fight, but Rose is better, and she was better for the majority of that fight.
What do you think?
I mean, it wasn't a blowout like, oh my God, she dominated her like.
Yeah. It wasn't like the first fight.
But I didn't see a point where I'm like, oh, this is where Joanna took control.
Okay.
Except it was like a little middle way where she was recharged.
There was definitely, I don't know
like
if it was
third round.
I don't know if it was
round 2, maybe
round 2 or 3 where she definitely won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was
one round where Rose was like recharging.
I had it split going into the last round. I think, and Rose won that round.
I don't remember it that well.
I want to watch it again because it was one of my favorite fights this year. But
footwork was very good.
Valentina and Joanna, they fought 3 times in Muay Thai, and Valentina won all
every
3
single time. Yeah.
But that's different. Like, totally. Wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But unless they want to make it a kickboxing match, like sometimes that happens. Like, okay, I remember there was I forget which one. It was a long time ago. It was an unofficial agreement between 2 UFC fighters that they would not grapple.
Really?
Yeah, it was a while ago, but I won't say who. But it was. We all know.
Won't say who?
Yeah, I won't say. But but it was like they agreed, and the UFC got wind of it, and they're like,
I wouldn't be able to
the crap of him. But
I wouldn't be able to Google this.
No, it's that. But it was a while. It was.
I'll edit it out. Just say it.
No.
Can you say it off mic?
No.
Damn, not even off mic.
But they agreed, and there's been a history of this. Actually, you probably find on Reddit or
was
whatever.
it Weidman and Jacare?
No. Right, exactly, right. No, but there's examples where they just agree. Also, there's way back when 2 fighters agreed not to pull each other's hair. There's another agreement where they agreed not to do headbutts when headbutts were legal.
I might have heard.
They had these backroom agreements, and the UFC put a stop to them. But this was years ago, So
interesting.
Yeah, and they say if you have a backroom agreement, we're going to fire you.
What
and
year
you're
was
never
it?
going to a long time ago.
That narrows it down.
No, because it was
Galaxy far, far away.
this is totally me in confidence, so I can't. You know.
Okay, so
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, if
I'm
you
really
think
look-
about it, you could probably find it.
But I'm really looking forward to Valentino and Joanna. Like they're both just different. I'm also looking forward to Cyborg versus Nunez.
Yes. Who do you have for that one? Nunez or Cyborg?
Oh man, I
have a gentleman's
That's a
bet.
hard one.
I'm leaning Nunez, honestly.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like just sort of like with Rose and Joanna, I just feel like she's all around better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas Cyborg is like the best at the one thing she's best at, right? At the press conference where John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson was announced, they were also announced. And Cyborg was telling Amanda Nunez like, "Oh, I'll believe it when you're in the octagon," because she was saying that she pulls out of fights a lot.
Right. But yeah, Nunez and Cyborg is a fascinating fight for me, especially it's in the women's division, the first time we've really seen this where you're dealing in the same weight class, but you're dealing with an athlete that is just much physically more imposing. So can Amanda's technique defeat Cyborg's physical gifts and power and speed and timing?
I think she walks around at 170.
Yeah, right. I know. No, for sure. Did you see her sparring? There's the old video of her sparring Tito Ortiz.
What?
They're grappling.
I saw.
She's beating up Tito Ortiz. No, and
That's not that hard.
No. Wow. Tito Ortiz is very good. No, are you kidding me? Tito Ortiz is actually very good. Also,
what I've seen though?
Tito Ortiz is like walks around at 220.
Do you know Clarissa Shields?
No.
She's the only 2-time Olympic gold medalist in boxing history, and she's obviously.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I've seen that video of Cyborg sparring with her. And Clarissa Shields. Exactly. She's a world class fighter. She can beat. She's like Ronda Rousey in the sense that they can beat up dudes.
Right.
And Cyborg was holding her own.
Yes,
holding her own.
I saw that
with maybe the best pound for pound boxer.
I know. Yes, I saw that video. Yeah, you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
and that girl was good.
Yeah,
that girl was good. And Amanda Nunes, is very, very good. So I want to see, is her technique? It's really interesting. Is her technique and her range enough to hold off the bull? The Cyborg is a bull. She's a female Vanderlei Silva. She has that power. No, she is. Yeah. Now she has more technique than Vanderlei, but she has those physical attributes, and you could say it's chemically enhanced or whatever. But whatever. No, but whatever.
Not her, him. When Vanderlei, right?
and Cyborg too, maybe. Like that's what they say.
I don't know.
Well, you don't know, right?
I would tend to think she would have gotten caught by now.
Well, she was caught. She was caught once.
Well, no, I'm saying like now.
Oh, right.
When was she caught? This was this pre-UFC?
Yeah.
So.
But still, anyway.
Yeah, right.
But the thing is, it's technique versus power. So this is also like Stipe versus Ngannou, where Stipe looked like a midget next to him, or Brock Lesnar versus
Frank Mir.
Yeah, that one, but Frank Mir's big. But, I would say Brock Lesnar versus Kane. Well, Kane's not too small. So small.
Couture.
Yeah. Randy Couture versus Gonzaga. Randy Couture versus anyone in the heavyweight division.
Right.
Where you saw, you can see that, okay, they're in the same weight class, but they're just physically completely different.
DC versus everybody.
Yeah, heavyweight. No, absolutely. DC is not a natural, big guy.
And to a point that you made earlier in terms of Rose really getting better, how about Amanda Nunes, who she was 9-4, I think, at one point, and she had lost to like Katzengano.
Yeah,
this was like an eternity ago, and now she's like a much different, much better fighter.
Much better.
She's on a crazy winning streak.
Yeah. No. I love to see the evolution of fighters and to see them get better.
If they do.
Yeah. And then some just don't, or some just get worse. Like Weidman has just not improved. And Weidman, Jacare and Weidman are two amazing fighters who fight stupid. So, no, that's what they are. They're amazing. They have amazing skill sets that they choose not to fucking use.
Send all your hate mail to Renee, right?
No, okay, so you're really great because because what makes a great fighter is not just technique, but it's tactics. It goes back to Sun Tzu. Tactically outthink and outwork your opponent, fight in different angles, and you choose the battleground, you choose the ground of battle, and you choose the strategy. And he's like, warfare without tactics and strategy is the sound of defeat. And
like that.
Yeah, and then it just standing in front of a guy and the guy's hitting you with the same punch over and over and over again, and then finally get knocked out, you're a fucking idiot. Anyway, you're not gonna grapple with him, you're not gonna mix it up, you're not gonna play angle, you are a fucking idiot. Now that doesn't mean that Weidman isn't a good fighter. I mean, he's pawing his jab, but whatever, stop.
There are some other fighters I'm thinking about. I'm like, I would hate to know what you think about other fighters.
No, I call it, I gotta see it. Yeah, let's go. Bring it on. I'm hated by my friends.
I did a feature
but hey, let's be honest. And you know who's my biggest critic of, the biggest person I criticize the most, more than anyone else?
Can I guess?
Me.
Okay.
Because you got to be honest. You want to hear what I'm suck at? I can start my list and finish next week, but I know, but it's called being honest,
right?
Being objective. And now there's certain things also that I do very well.
Yeah.
And
it's good to be your own worst critic. I'm like that with my writing, with my podcasting, broadcasting,
that's how you get
reporting.
better.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
how
you
you
have
get
to
better.
say the same critical eye, like science. Like if you're a scientist and you have this experiment and it didn't go right, I'm like, it was a really nice experiment, Bryan. That was great. Fuck that shit. Like, let's
get better.
Let's live in objective
figure out where
reality.
it went wrong. Right.
And it's not, stop taking this shit personally.
Yeah.
And I love. Here it comes. I love Damian Maia, but man, you he has to fix some elements of his game. And I hope, I hope Damian Maia becomes a champion.
What's
because
crazy?
That would mean he did.
You know what's crazy about MMA too is that can happen, right?
It totally
Whereas
does.
in boxing, you get a loss and it fucking kills you in a lot of places.
The boxing fans are unforgiving.
Yeah, that's why I like MMA to some point where I could still see, you could still see guys with like TJ Dillashaw wasn't this. You know what I mean? Where he sort of became this over time after he had a couple losses and got better. And
it's so easy to lose in MMA, and you could be
Rose
amazing.
Namajunas has 3 losses. Mighty Mouse has a few losses. Woodley is 3, and these are like some of the best pound for pound fighters in the sport right now.
You totally said, and you said the exact same thing, is that MMA is still evolving. So sometimes a guy like Tyron Woodley's short Darce, whatever you want to call it, like people are like, I've never seen that before. Well, yeah, because it's a kind of a new technique, and
Darce choke, yeah.
No, the short Darce.
Okay.
Because he changed it.
Yeah.
It's not the regular Darce. It's actually called the technique the Bravo, because I think it's disrespectful to call it the Darce.
Okay.
Because the technique was not invented by Joe Darcy. It was invented by Milton Vieira. Before Joe Darcy was even doing jiu-jitsu.
So is it called the Vieira choke?
No, Bravo choke.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
the Darce, there's a variation of that should be called the Darce that Joe Darcy came up with. And Joe Darcy is amazing, but he did not invent what is commonly known as the Darce.
Okay.
He was the first one to do it in America.
That's what people were labeling it.
Yeah,
as
right. Because we saw it through Joe Darcy's game.
Right.
And he's amazing. Like, amazing. But
he
that technique.
He murked Darren.
Right. But that technique existed, before he was training jiu-jitsu. Right. But anyway.
Yeah.
But that short Bravo, the short Darce, is new. It's very, very, very new. Mm-hmm. And you have never seen that in a high level MMA fight ever performed before. That way. You've never seen that variation. Never. Not once. It has never been done before. So we are in this time of evolution of fight techniques. And it's just wonderful to see. So it's so easy to get caught because you're like, what the fuck was that?
Back to what we were talking about before,
though. So it's okay if you lose.
Yeah, but wait,
like Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
Like he got, how long did it take DJ to beat him? It was like, 2 minutes into the first round.
Yeah,
Not even.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and beats him. Like, that's
better.
amazing.
Yeah, but it's like now with guys like Sean O'Malley, with guys like Israel Adesanya, with guys like Zabit.
Oh my God.
You're seeing the next, you're seeing sort of that
Matrix,
next evolution where, but they're not just specialists. They're all around good. Cause even with Israel, when Derek Brunson tried to take him down, he was stuffing those takedowns. He's obviously been working on his wrestling in some degree.
Israel Adesanya's jiu-jitsu is actually pretty good too.
He said that.
Yeah, no, but I've heard from other people.
Yeah.
I've heard from other people that it's actually pretty good.
He was telling me that he's like, that he works on everything.
Yeah, of
and
course.
I could see that. Even when Joanna fought Tisha Torres obviously has an extensive wrestling background. Stuffed all 10 of her takedowns in that fight. Could not get her down. Jessica Andrade, same thing, who murked Carolina, but when she fought Joanna, couldn't do anything for 5 rounds.
Right, exactly. And MMA is exactly that, MMA. And you have to, the minute you see that there's a gap in someone's skill, you're going to go there.
Yeah.
And you're going to take them out. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to see that. But, I think this also comes from the Japanese, cause we're martial artists. So we're informed by Japanese values, even if we unconsciously don't understand it.
Okay.
But I think so many people, we're inspired by the Japanese culture and the samurais, and Japanese don't praise success as much as they praise effort and hard work. And in the martial art world, that value system is definitely there. So I think MMA at some level kind of reflects that. It's okay to lose.
Yeah.
You know,
You win or you learn.
look at my least favorite fighter, completely Conor McGregor, but he got wrecked.
Least favorite.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me?
Don't start down this rabbit hole. We've been for another hour.
But I mean, he got destroyed by Nick Diaz in the first fight, and they come back, and then he's still like, you know, he's forgiven, right? And he'll be forgiven from the Khabib fight. That's fine. You know, that's fine because he'll grow and he'll get better. You know, like, I mean, let me tell you, the guy trains hard. He should set up his training camp and like have people other than fucking Dylan Dennis fucking camp. And if you're listening, Dylan, you piece of shit.
I didn't say
fucking
that.
munch. God damn it, motherfucker.
100 Church Street. Come on, Dylan. Come on down.
Not while the AHTTpodcast is going on.
Every Monday at 3:00.
I'm sorry. I can't. You know, this guy's a bad behavior who disrespect Marcelo Garcia. Just doesn't, their old teacher. And
See, I'm not in those MMA circles yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Marcelo Garcia is one of the nicest human beings in the world, and great teacher, great human being. Not successful in MMA, but doesn't mean anything. He's one of my teachers, and can't say enough positive things about Marcelo Garcia. I mean, we don't have interaction anymore because he's in the sport jiu-jitsu world, but if you can't treat a man like that who is absolutely one of the nicest people on the planet with respect, and you don't deserve my respect.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a good time to wrap it up. We are we're going over our time. I don't want to keep Bryan here too much longer.
Yeah, I gotta go punch people in the face.
Oh, nice.
I have a fighter that I want to ask you about. We'll do it off air because it could be problematic.
Why don't we come on and do it on air next week? This is a great idea.
Maybe we come back.
But,
thank you so much, Bryan, for coming.
Yeah,
it was a lot of
fun.
I feel like we could keep talking for another 3-4 hours.
Yeah, I'm very talkicative.
So this is good. Because I'm also I tend to dominate. I tend to be a little too. Bloviate a little too much. So, it's good to have someone, to talk back and not let me dominate the air too much.
I like listening.
No,
I keep you on track.
I do too, especially
I cut you off a little too much.
Yeah, especially because, like, for example, today, there were things that I knew having been there that you didn't know in terms of being at the event and talking to some fighters, and there are a lot of things that you know that I sure as hell don't because I'm not, a jiu-jitsu practitioner or anything like that.
Right.
At least not yet. Maybe one day.
I'm not only a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I do other things.
No, I'm saying that for example.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We'll find out his prices and then we'll see.
Right.
Holloway, Ortega.
I cannot wait for that.
Who's going to win? Then we'll move over.
Look, I'm concerned only because I just want Max Holloway to make weight. Because at Barclays Center for the press conference, I remember, not the press conference, media day, I remember looking at him in the scrum and he just looked tired.
But I know you
and
want
he got pulled out right after that.
Right, but can I ask you a question? Do you think it was all the craziness that interfered with the weight cut, or do you just think he just has problems making weight? Because sometimes I deal with fighters, and whenever there's like cutting weight's hard to begin with, but whenever there's like a disturbance of like, oh, I couldn't get my water at 5 minutes ago. It's a big issue. So if there's this whole craziness because of that thing, do you think that had something to do with it, or do you think he just I don't follow him that much.
Remember, it was very short notice.
Right, that's true.
So it was like because he was supposed to fight who's to be? Oh, he was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson.
Right.
And then it was like on a week's notice, maybe a couple days notice, where Max Holloway was there, and I think he walks around at 170, so he probably had to cut down. This was lightweight title, so 15 pounds at least. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I think
and he's a lean guy. He's not like
I think it was a
fat.
legitimate weight issue. What this is for a featherweight title? Holloway or
that's 145, right?
So that's 145. Yeah, damn. I just hope they could both make weight. I think make it clean. Yeah. If the fight actually does happen, oh my god, I don't even know. I have a hard time picking the Valentina Joanna fight also, and they're both on the same card.
I edge it out slightly to again, given his evolution, slightly to Ortega. Yeah, Ortega is a beast on the ground. He has good takedowns though, not stupendously great, but good. Yeah. But his boxing has improved so much, and Holloway is a good striker. but he is not quite as clean in my opinion. But I would like to get Professor Ken's opinion on that too. You know, like he sees things that I don't see.
I'm kind of leaning the same
Ortega.
way. I'm kind of leaning the same way.
What do you? How about
Ortega? Yeah.
Ortega. Oh man, we can't have a bet again.
Well, what about Valentina Joanna?
Okay, I'll take. What about Cyborg Nunez? Well, let's make a bet.
Ooh,
Cyborg.
Oh man, I was gonna take Cyborg. I'll take Nunez. I'm taking Nunez. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take Cyborg, but
we have a history where I lose bets on this show.
Yes, I know.
Do you pay or
no? I get injured.
Yeah, and I bought a taser knife. I tased him the last one.
You tased?
We tased each other.
Wait, have you ever watched Dana White's Looking for a Fight?
Never
Before?
I never watch anything other than the fights.
Okay, but this is
we're so different.
I didn't know. Well, yeah, because like I
watch the training and the fights, and that's it.
Well, because obviously producing original content, I look at other original content, and Dana White. While people can say what they want or whatever, that show is actually interesting. There was a point where him, Matt Serra, and it wasn't Din Thomas. It was the Tooth, whatever his name is. I forgot his full name.
The comedian. He's a comedian, is it?
I don't know, but he's one of Dana White's friends because he was there for the first season before they replaced him with Din Thomas. Anyway, Dana White's always wanted to get tased. They went to Las Vegas. They got tased. And it was hilarious. You got to find the video. It is a very short clip. The Tooth is screaming, and Dana White's like laughing at him because they all like sort of lean over. Like when they get tased, you see them, they're holding hands, and it's like 3, 2, 1, and then he just kind of like leans over, and they just fall.
Well, we didn't have. It wasn't a full tase charge. It's a knife.
I don't want that.
A knife.
It was 5 seconds long.
Oh wow,
taser.
that's a long time.
Yeah.
We have it's a knife that we train with that has a taser charge. So it's like getting stabbed. So I stab.
What?
Right. That's how we train.
How did it feel?
It wasn't that bad. It felt like a couple, a bee sting.
Yeah, I put it down for him.
Okay.
But then it burnt. I put it up for myself.
It smelled like hair.
Yeah, it burnt my hair.
I don't know. Like part of me is like, okay.
So what's the bet? What do we?
Is there anything else you haven't done to me yet?
I choked him once, and I put him in a
Choked him
nerve
out?
block.
No.
I didn't choke him out.
I tapped real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
But your neck.
He kept going though. I had a
You
sore
tapped
throat
too
from it.
early.
I heard already. I was done. I'm not a fighter.
But I heard
Was he?
that Farab Zahabi says the same thing. Like when he's training with people, he taps early.
Of course, but there's early, and there's like before I even have it on.
Okay.
I almost called in sick that day. What else can you do to me? I'm going to lose anyways.
I will introduce you to the elbow of retribution.
What the hell is that?
The Rock's new move?
No, that's the people's elbow.
Oh,
No,
okay.
the elbow of retribution. I will introduce you to the elbow of retribution.
Okay.
How's that?
I'm all right.
But you have to go. You have to be on your side a little bit.
I kind of want to know.
Wait, which one are we doing? This the
You
Nunez?
choose which one.
I'm picking Cyborg.
You're picking. Oh shoot! Sorry.
What about Jones Gustafson? You guys.
Oh, Jones got. Yeah,
you guys are
I'm
close.
going Jones. Yeah.
Valentina Joanna.
I'll pick Valentina.
All right, I'll go
You want it?
Sure.
Okay. All right. That's all right.
I think I'm going with Joanna also.
I'm picking. Yeah.
I think I'm going with Joanna. But all these fights we're mentioning, all 4 of them. Well, not 4 of them because Jones Gustafson probably not a 50-50 fight, even though the first fight went the way it did.
Gustafson is pretty. By the way, Jones didn't train for that fight, but still a good fight. It's a good fight.
Yeah, I would say more 60-40 in Jones' favor, but I would say the other 3
I'd say like 90-10, but
okay, I was being nice.
if it goes down to the floor,
But all the other 3 fights, they're 50-50 fights.
Yeah.
Holloway, Ortega, Cyborg Nunez, Valentina, and Joanna. They're all 50-50 fights, in my opinion.
No, I mean, what you're saying is, I don't think they're 50-50 fights because I think that's you have to analyze them a little deeper. But I agree with exactly what you're saying.
What I'm implying.
What I'm implying is that
Right.
they're both very skilled fighters who are supposed to fight, and you can't easily pick the winner. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, when you say 50-50, it means like, oh, this is equal skill split. But when you actually look at it, both of them have problems and things they need to work on, and it's more
wouldn't that make them equal from one another?
Yeah,
If that's
but
the case? if you strip down all their weaknesses,
I don't think you can.
If this person's not as good on the ground, but this person's not as good standing up,
right? I don't think you can equal at that because the 3, like for example, if you are a better wrestler and the other guy is a better striker, the wrestler will win. If
Joanna versus Tisha Torres.
No, but if you're a better wrestler, no, Joanna's a great defensive wrestler.
You're saying better.
Yeah, like if you can't stay on your feet.
Okay.
Right. No, because Joanna's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
No,
that's what we were saying before.
Right. No.
But I thought you were saying great striker versus great wrestler. And then the wrestler will win.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Joanna's a great wrestler.
Okay.
Now you're thinking offensive wrestler.
No, I got you. I got you.
Joanna, actually,
remember, I pointed out that she stuffed
she's
10
actually,
takedowns.
people think that her main art is striking, but she grew up doing like traditional Polish wrestling or something. So she's been grappling since she was a kid.
Yeah, but
like
you know what it is
European
too?
wrestling and stuff.
People don't see because she doesn't do takedowns, so people kind of look at that and be like, "Oh, she's not a great wrestler."
Well, defensive wrestling is wrestling.
Yeah, agreed. Because nobody can take her down outside of Rose.
Right.
Which is why she beat her that second time.
And she took her down after she punched her in the face a bunch of times.
Right.
Hard
But
to
do.
Joanna is a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah,
Same with, he doesn't like a lot of credit, but I hate to say it, but actually
Conor
McGregor is actually a freaking great wrestler.
Good take.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. Yeah. He's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
Not as good as Khabib, but a good wrestler.
Yeah, and he almost lost to Chad Mendes before.
Yeah, right.
That
well,
rally,
He's still a.
He has good takedowns too. When he stuffs a lot of takedowns unless he's fighting someone like the elite, like Khabib,
right.
Or I don't know if you would call Nate Diaz elite.
No, absolutely not.
He's very good at something.
Yeah, not a good takedown guy though.
Right.
Yeah, no. Anyway, so Matt is. Oh, I'm sorry.
my
I'm sorry. Sorry, Matt.
Karate chop the headphones off.
Matt has to go, and
I've never seen that in every radio show, podcast, anything that I watched. But you didn't move. Like the headphones just came off.
I'm like
let's go
over here. Let's go.
Can I tell you a funny story? So I was at this party. I was at this party, right? And it was like we had this. They put the ice in the freezer. It was like crushed ice.
Yeah.
But they put it in the freezer. I'm like, why'd you put it in the freezer? Because now it's like the ice is locked up, so nobody can have ice to their drinks. It's like come over and I go, bam! Because I had 17 years of karate. Like I used to break ice and demonstrate. So like, bam! And I broke the ice, and everyone's like, whoa! And I'm like, yeah, at least karate's good for something.
Because I know you're trying.
So that's my karate chop, right? I was trying to karate chop.
It's good,
right?
It's good. It worked.
Because I know you're trying to rap, but I want to ask you something. How often? Because obviously you do training, right?
Yeah, of course.
How often do you spar? Still,
every single day.
Every single day. Like hard hits? Or
No. Okay, so that's a different question. How often do we spar with hard head trauma? We don't do that too often.
Because I feel like that sort of changed, whereas fighters before used to spar a lot more than they do now.
That's it. No. And okay, so sparring and then sparring with hard contact are two different things, right? Yeah. So my fighters spar every single day. Now you're talking striking sparring, by the way, but there's also grappling sparring, there's takedown sparring. Yeah. But for example, for G, my fighter G and my other fighter York, they have fights on Saturday. This is coming Saturday. I'll be in Premier FC in Massachusetts.
Okay.
For this camp, we have not done one round of hard sparring to the face, but put on the helmets and just go for broke. Mm-hmm. There's no need to. Now, what they do is incredibly fast-paced tag. Where I tag your chin. So I just go like this, bump, bump, bump. Because they know how to punch hard.
Right.
So it's like if I can touch you, and also when you try to punch hard, you actually don't punch hard. Force equals mass times acceleration. Mass times acceleration means the whip, not baseball bat. Yeah. The more you try to force things through, the slower you are. So this is slow, that's fast.
Yeah.
The more you try to whip. All right.
I like when there's a table between us.
Right. I love being mean to Matt. No. But so we teach our fighters to be quick and fast and mobile, and head trauma is a legitimate issue.
Yeah.
I will never be the trainer that leaves my students with brain damage.
Okay.
So also when we go hard, because once in a while
His co-host, on the other hand, he doesn't mind. Yeah.
Not at all. No, but when we do go hard, we actually wear specially designed helmets from Japan, which have a unbreakable Lexan shield. So the force is distributed away from the cerebral cortex and to the sides.
Gotcha, yeah.
Which is actually why we have this eyebrow here. The eyebrow ridge was designed to ward off brain trauma. This is why our in Neanderthals especially have that very protruded eyebrow range. It's a protection for your brain case. So the helmets mimic that, so you have much less trauma. But for this fight camp, we have not gone one hard round. For the last fight camp, where G knocked the guy out in, was it 12 seconds? We didn't do one hard sparring camp. G has not hard head contact sparred. in maybe a year and a half. So we don't do that because as long as you're technically sound and fast and accurate and you know how to develop power, you don't have to beat the snot out of each other.
Right. Yeah.
So, the best punches are the loosest and pop.
Going based off of feel.
Yeah.
Like
feel,
we talked
right,
about
yeah.
earlier.
And the lightest, the pop, 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 not bonk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not the jacare overhand. That's just not technically that great. It just isn't.
Yeah. And a lot of times you miss.
Yeah, right. And whatever. And that's why he was throwing the same punch over and over again. And he would have lost that fight if he didn't get lucky. So, but anyway, we spar every single day. But we don't spar hard.
But
now
not
also
hard
we spar in the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling elements more because the stronger base.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was real wonderful pleasure talking with you, Bryan.
Yeah.
No, it was really great meeting you.
Thank
It
you
was
for having me.
fascinating. I see a different dimension of the fan experience and that makes me learn and grow.
Yeah.
And,
Reporter also. So.
And reporter,
Got you,
of course, right? Maybe more like the
I definitely
WWE thing.
I tend because like you said, this could go on for hours because I have like a lot of questions for just people around MMA and coaches.
Well, we gotta go have him on again.
So.
Well, maybe you should go on his show.
I would love that. That would be wonderful.
Where can people find your show?
Ain't Hard to Sell podcast.
Yeah.
You can find that thanks to you, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, YouTube, and iTunes, of course, Apple Podcasts.
Just search
There you
Ain't
go.
Hard to Tell.
There you go.
You'll find it.
And then follow on Twitter at AHTTpodcast, Instagram AHTTpodcast. You can follow me at BryanFonsecaNY.
Oh, your last name's Fonseca?
Yeah. I'm
One of the
Puerto
most
Rican.
famous karate champions, his last name is Fonseca.
Really? I got to find out if we're related. He's probably not Puerto Rican, though. He's probably Portuguese or something.
Yeah, he's Portuguese.
Yeah. We're out there, too.
Yeah.
But we're not related.
You're Puerto Rican too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. There's not a lot of us
That's
in
why I have a
MMA
girl's
yet.
name.
Not a lot of us in MMA yet.
I'm just white. You should follow Bryan though, because he gets behind the scenes stuff on a lot of sporting events and see.
Yeah.
You were talking with the basketball game recently.
Yeah. I do. So I do a lot of Nets coverage for NetsDaily.com.
Nets is basketball.
Yes, that's basketball.
Nets,
so
right, because of net, right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh.
But Nets is a team in Brooklyn.
Oh, right.
Yeah. NBA
Okay.
team in Brooklyn. So last week.
Oh, it's in Brooklyn?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know they had a basketball team.
Yeah, that's what Barclays Center. Yeah. They play at Barclays
Oh,
Center.
right.
Yeah.
New Jersey Nets moved over to Brooklyn.
Oh,
That's what it
they
was.
moved from Jersey to Brooklyn.
Yeah, like 6 years ago. Yeah.
I don't know anything about non-combat sports.
I find that fascinating. With like
The only sport
because
I
Joe
watch-
Rogan talks about this too, where he doesn't know anything about football or whatever, and I'm like, it's so
I don't see
amazing
the
to me.
point of playing it personally. Like I
agree with you now.
No, but I only
Probably
orient
not
my
before.
life- I only orient my life around. That's my choice, and this is no judgment because honestly,
yeah.
I'm a weirdo. Okay, let's just get out.
I think we all are.
No, but I can't get personally. I can't get motivated to do something or to watch something that doesn't give me you learn to swim so you don't drown. You run so you can run away.
So you're basically
Yeah.
saying, why do you play football?
Everything for me is utilitarian. I do martial arts so I don't get the shit kicked out of me when somebody tries to mug me.
I'm kind of like that with
know?
movies. Like there are some movies that are too over the top where
Right.
I'm like, I'm not gonna watch that.
Right,
like
right.
Fast and the Furious.
I will never watch Fast and Furious. I would rather shoot myself before I watch.
Yeah,
Fast and
yeah.
Furious.
No, I'm like that with
No,
movies too.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why I tend to gravitate towards documentaries.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
no,
yeah.
you're yeah, and I mean, in my life, I'm very utilitarian. I only do things that, for me, have a concrete purpose, and also, my goal since I was 6 years old has been to pursue self-defense and personal safety,
Yeah,
and that's it. That's all it is. You know.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm a little weird.
And we'll put a pin on the show on that note. Yeah, Renee is weird. Thanks for listening.
And sadistic.
Listen to the show every week. We'll be back next week, and we'll find out. No, we won't find out if I lost yet because we got a couple weeks.
A couple weeks.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll want to do something to me, though. You'll want to punch me or whatever. All right, guys. Thanks, Bryan, so
Sorry,
much
Matt.
for coming in.
Got you anytime.
And we'll
Thank
see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter at Marshall_Culture and on Instagram at MarshallCultureCast. Please leave a review on iTunes, and we'll see you next time on the Marshall Culture Podcast.